Few leaders in African history have left a mark as deep as Kwame Nkrumah, a visionary, a revolutionary, and a man whose dream of a united Africa was ahead of its time. Brief introduction to Nkrumah as the first Prime Minister and President of Ghana. Overview of his role in Africa's independence movement and his dream of pan-African unity. Tease the controversy surrounding his leadership, exile, and lasting impact. Born September 21, 1909, in Nkrumah, Gold Coast, now Ghana. Raised in a humble background, influenced by African traditions and British colonial rule. He attended Akimota School, then moved to the United States for further education. He studied at Lincoln University and the University of Pennsylvania, where he was exposed to Marxist, socialist, and Pan-Africanist ideologies. Inspired by Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and anti-colonial movements worldwide. Developed deep political philosophies on African liberation, socialist economics, and independence from European rule. Nkrumah returned to the Gold Coast in 1947 to join the United Gold Coast Convention, UGCC. He left UGCC due to ideological differences and founded the Convention People's Party, CPP. He led Self-Government Now. Campaign, massive nationwide strikes, and protests against colonial rule. In 1950, Nkrumah, arrested by the British for leading strikes, became a national symbol for resistance. In 1951 elections, CPP won by a landslide, but Nkrumah was still in prison. The British were forced to release him, making him the leader of government business. In 1957, after continued political pressure, Ghana became the first African country to gain independence. His famous speech, "The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa." Nkrumah as Prime Minister and President. Achievements: massive infrastructure projects. Akosombo Dam, Tema Harbor, new roads, schools, and hospitals. Pan-African Vision. Hosted the first All-African Peoples Conference, 1958, to unite newly independent African nations. Advocated for the United States of Africa, urging African leaders to form a single, powerful continental government. Established OAU, Organization of African Unity, in 1963, precursor to the African Union. Shift to socialist policies. State-controlled industries and a focus on industrialization. Censorship, political repression, and establishment of a one-party state, 1964. Some viewed him as a dictator consolidating power instead of fostering democracy. Critics argue that mismanaged economic policies and rising debt weakened Ghana. In February 24, 1966, he was overthrown by a military coup while on a state visit to China and North Vietnam. CIA declassified documents later revealed that the U.S. and UK may have supported the coup due to his socialist alignment and anti-West stance. Nkrumah's government was accused of aligning with the Soviet Union, which worried Western nations during the Cold War. The coup, led by General Joseph Ankara, was celebrated by opposition groups, but also seen as a Western-backed destabilization. Ghana returned to pro-Western policies post-coup. Kwame Nkrumah was granted asylum in Guinea by President Sékou Touré, where he was made co-president of Guinea. Nkrumah spent years writing about African unity, neocolonialism, and socialism. He published Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism, criticizing Western exploitation of Africa. He attempted to regain power but faced political isolation. He died in 1972 in Bucharest, Romania, from health complications. Nkrumah's vision of African unity influenced leaders like Nelson Mandela and Thomas Sankara. Ghana still honors him with national monuments and celebrations. Today, debates continue. Was he a hero who was misunderstood, or a dictator who went too far? Neocolonialism and his predictions. Many of his warnings about foreign influence in Africa remain relevant. Kwame Nkrumah's dream of a united Africa may not have been realized in his lifetime, but his ideas continue to shape the future. What do you think about Kwame Nkrumah's leadership? Was he ahead of his time or too radical? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more history content on great leaders, lost civilizations, and untold stories.